All right, so this is the Burton family tree I was able to make on ancestry.com. I spent a bit of time working on it yesterday. I did find some dead ends. Like here at this Roger Day Burton 1195 in England, I couldn't find anything further. Walter Day Burton 1230 to 1317, I couldn't find a mom for him. And you have Edward Day Burton 1265. You have a Richard Day Burton. And then a Sir William Day Burton 1351 to 1375. And here we have a female Nancy Cratton 1345 to 1424, and they had a son, Sir William Burton Jr. 1400 to 1461, and him and a Sophia Cutter had a son named Robert Burton 1419 to 1470. And I did find both of Sophia's parents too, a William John Cutter and a Marion Hindley, and they had a son coming down here, Sir Edward Burton, and he was with the Jocosa Crescent Burton. She had a lot of different name spellings, like also some people wrote it as Joyce. I guess Joyce is probably easier to say than Jocosa. And they had a son, Sir John Burton. He was married to somebody named Elizabeth Poynter, and her parents are Sir Thomas Poynter and Lady Isabel Leighton. And you see the years there, 1490 to 1543. And then 1460. Okay, so this guy here, he gets actually knighted in 1460, and because then then this guy, because it's not this guy that's the knight, because it says one thing I read that it's actually the grandfather. So this guy, he gets knighted, but then all these guys are knights after him, sort of. And him and this Anne Maddox, they have a son, Captain Francis Burton, and this is where we come to America, between Captain Francis Burton and Captain Richard Burton. And Captain Francis Burton had a wife, Catherine Valentine Burton. Her years are 1558 to 1609. And then this Anne Maddox, her father's name was Nicholas of Weeman Cotton, and Weeman Cotton is actually the name of the town. And he was married to Mary Nolan. And then further up there, we have Sir William A. Maddox and Mary Gowie. This guy right here is actually probably one of the most famous ones. I think he was with, Henry VII. He was called a Knight of Rhodes. And some places said he was called the Master of Robes. Another place said he was a grooms. I forgot the word, but the grooms thing doesn't sound like a very good job. It's sort of like you're the king's bathroom attendant, but you become a very close, like, confidant. Is that what they say? Okay, so back to this is coming to America part. So we have Captain Francis Burton and his son, Richard Burton. They come. Richard Burton and Catherine Christian. They have a son, and the son is known as Burton of Longfield. And this is like kind of like a plantation farming sort of setup they have there. And he has a wife, Mary Catherine Cox, and they have a son, Robert Burton, 1660 to 1723. And him and Mary Knoll have a son, Noel Hunt Burton. And Mary Knoll, her father's John Knoll and Lydia Perkins. And so then we come down to the next line. We have a Hutchins Burton. And so Noel Burton and Judith Allen, they have a son, Hutchins Burton. And Judith Allen, her dad's is Richard Allen and Elizabeth Walker. So him and this Tabitha Minge, they have a son named Colonel Robert Burton. And this is where you actually find a lot of history. This guy had a Mount Pelier, like, slave plantation, and there's actually documents of having, like, a lot of slaves. And he was actually in the Continental Congress. So he was actually, like, one of the people that was in the Congress. But also, he married this lady, Agatha Williams, and her dad, this John Colonel Williams, he was also in the Continental Congress. So both of these guys were actually congressmen. And these two had a son, Dr. James Minge Burton. And he had married Martha Gilbert, and they had a son, Madison Theodore Burton. This one was, I couldn't find anything after her for mother and father. And this is where I actually know, like, verbatim that everything matches up. Because after Madison, we have Robert Augustus Burton. And my own grandfather told me that his grandfather's name was Robert Augustus Burton. So this would have been 6 generations back for me. And he had Francis E. Harridge. and they had a son, James Henry Burton, who was with a Allie Lou Davis, and they had my grandfather, Robert Burton. And then my grandfather and Hazel Erling Cook had my dad, and then me. And so that is the Burton side of the family tree. I'm starting to work on some of the other family trees. Let me see if I can scroll down. Through this one of these DeWitts, I got way back to the 1200s in Scotland. That was kind of interesting, but yeah, that's a different video. So yeah, the one I wanted to show today was just the Burton one that I have.